Hello, welcome. Maximizing margins with FinOps for telcos. If you're a telco, fine. If not, also fine. Please stay because you learn about maximizing the business value for the public cloud, even if you're not a telco. I'm using a telco and service provider as an example, so there should be even some interesting topics for you if you're not a telco. There are two angles where you can maximize the business value for the public cloud. You can either reduce your existing costs or make additional value with some additional services you are going to offer. These are the two main angles where you can actually optimize your cost and increase the margins. And how do you do that? Let's make it a bit more concrete. So to reduce the cost, you can either use the commitment model of the public cloud providers, like savings plans, reserved instances. You can optimize your usage. So if does this storage be needed anymore? Or are there things that run over the weekend or during the night, but nobody is using it actually? So maybe you can turn these off. This is going to be even saving like half of the money already. And there's a third point, and it has to do with the usage optimization as well. It's making people accountable for their cloud spend, so that everyone can take the ownership for their cloud usage, and therefore they just can decide if this is needed or not, if it needs to be run during the weekend or during the night, if the data that is on that storage is actually important, or if you can maybe skip that completely. And the second level you can raise is the external usage and the external services you provide for the end customer. So if you don't have end customers, you just have internal customers, perfectly fine. Like business units, if you're an internal IT and you have business units, that's perfectly fine. Think about how you can develop and best support your business to maximize the business value of the public cloud. So by either creating additional new services or offer them even the training with the FinOps framework so that they can maximize the business value for their public cloud. So now I was talking a bit about the FinOps a lot. So what is all that FinOps? If you haven't heard of it, it's a framework. It's a framework for IT financial management for the public cloud. And it comes with best practices and processes. So it's not about a tool. It's really about bringing the people together, the right people like finance and DevOps. That's how the term FinOps was actually created. So it's bringing together finance and DevOps people, but also the business and management, because you need them all together to maximize the business value for the public cloud. So it's all about, you see the key domains. It's about understanding the cloud costs and relating it to the business value, like where do you want to invest, what's your budget, what's your forecast, and also about optimization, of course. Yeah, that cost saving is a part of FinOps, but it's not. It's just one portion. It's not the main part. It's in general making the most of the cloud and increasing the business value and maximize the business value of the public cloud for your end customers. And so if you charge end customers, that could be one option, but also like just showback would be fine and helps a lot, because if people see what they're actually creating as a cost, then they feel responsible for it, and most people are feeling responsible for it, and they will change their behavior and they take care about their cloud spend. So that would be the first step, to actually show what cost is owned by whom and who's creating which costs, and this enables people to react on it and use the cloud wisely. But let's focus on the first topic, like how we can optimize our internal usage, how we can bring these costs down. And there's like these three topics, like rate optimization, usage, and then I'm going a bit into the accountability. So with the rates, we are using commitment models. You can commit for a certain cloud spend, typically like for 1 year. You could do this 1 year commit, and after that year renew the commitment. But there's a better way. So what happens if you're actually able to optimize something and your cloud spend goes down, or you, for some other reason, you're not using that much storage and compute resources anymore in a future time because it's no longer needed, then you might run into overcommitment. To avoid that, you can, instead of buying this every year, that commitment, you can do it like quarter by quarter, so that allows you to go even a bit do some ramp up and also ramp down, because each quarter some commitment is going to expire, and you can decide each quarter, are you going to recommit for the full amount, or are you just leaving this by the side. So that's one level about, there's not just savings plans, but there's also reserved instances, so there's different commitment model, definitely worth looking into it if you haven't done so. The other way is to optimize something is the usage. So first of all, you want to avoid waste, so focus on what is actually needed and just eliminate everything that is not needed now. And use that dynamic and flexibility of the public cloud and scale things up, scale things down, and turn things off if not needed, because every hour something is not running, it's not creating cost. So the public cloud can actually be quite cost efficient if you use it wisely, and if you turn things on only when needed and turn things off when it's not needed. And for each instance itself, here like for example virtual machines, they have that optimum rectangle with CPU capacity and memory capacity, and you want to make sure that you run your machine in that optimal range, and that's done by scaling. So you can use that flexibility of the public cloud to scale things up and scale things down based on the actual usage and performance requirements. So if you know that your workload and the amount of traffic is going up to at a certain time, you can do this on a scheduled basis, but you also could monitor constantly the required performance and react quite fast and increase your capacity or lower your capacity based on the current demand. That's how you actually can optimize the usage and then make sure that you're always in the optimal performance range, but also cost range. So both together will make sure that you are running technically perfect, but most decisions also come from responsibility. So if you have like an internal cost center for the IT and everything on the cloud cost goes to that internal cost center and no one cares about it, you might run into a very serious cost problem. So the best solution for that would be to take that ownership to the people. It's of course a cultural change and a topic of working together. So you need to bring finance people together with the DevOps team and bring that finance aspect into the DevOps teams so that they also think when they deploy something, they also think about what it is going to cost, what is going to business benefit. And that's not something the DevOps teams are quite used to it, but that's something they definitely should learn. In this example, I was working with a company who was using the Spotify process. So where you see here squads, you can consider it as a team, and a tribe can be just considered as a team of teams. So that's a typical structure. You always have some teams and some larger groups and departments or anything, how they are organized. And so how to map the AWS account structure, for example, and the cloud services the teams are responsible for to the actual teams. So you see on the left-hand side the AWS structure with accounts and resource groups as such. So you can group resources by using some tags. And what we typically do is we just use the tagging that is already there and in place, but also the account structure, naming conventions, and then define, okay, this team owns these and these cloud services, or they own something like an entire account and everything that runs in that account. Fine, you can all assign that. And that's when quite easy for the team. They see then with one view, this is the things we own, and can look at it. Are these things what we still need? Are there services running? Is this overcapacity? Does this need to run overnight? Does this need to be running in the weekends? So if they can really take the responsibility for their cloud usage, if they know what they are responsible for. So that's why this is the first step you should do. And everything, all other FinOps capabilities are actually building on this cost allocation, as we call it. You allocate cost to teams, you allocate cost to business departments or squads and tribes, however your company is organized. But there's another challenge. So this is just assigning the direct cost. What about shared environments or shared cost? Think about AWS support. Think about a shared database that is used by many, many different teams. How do you deal with this kind of cost? So here, for example, we have a shared environment. It's built on several cloud resources, and we have some consumers, if these are customers or teams or departments. How do you deal with that? How do you allocate these costs in a fair way? And I think we found a quite good solution for it. And it's depending on the usage type. So that depending on the actual type of the cost, we're gonna use different sharing rules, and we came up with these 4 key sharing rules that cover like 98% of all cases. So the easiest one would be like to share like an even split. Everyone gets the same amount. That might be okay in some cases, but might be not fair in other cases. Like if you have a very different usage, it's probably not fair. So the next best would be then the fixed percentages. If you know that one department or one team is like using half of all the resources of that environment, you can give them 50% of the cost, like always 50%. This is also somewhat okay if the usage doesn't change that much. If you're quite sure they are always using like approximately 50% and it will stay on that level of percentage, that should be definitely okay to do that. Another more flexible one is the proportional split. So the one with the biggest cloud spend gets the biggest amount of the shared cost. So that includes some sort of dynamic, but it still might not be 100% fair, because you can have the group with a high cloud spend, but of that shared environment, they are also using nothing. Then it's not fair. If you want to do it really fair, you could use a consumption-based. That means like introducing another metrics, number of users, number of transactions, number of the actual resources consumed on that shared environment. This makes it a bit more complex. You have to implement some rules to allocate these shared costs. So you need to think about, is this worth the effort? And this table and these presentations are going to be shared. So this table shows some examples. You don't need to memorize everything, but here are some examples for shared cost. And the X doesn't mean you're not allowed to use it. It's just not very common. So the green ones are the recommended types of sharing. You see different sharing rules apply or make more sense. So the green ones are where these sharing rules make more sense rather than the others. So as a summary, an even split can be used if you have the exactly same participation. So like you have a system like a software as a service that is used by everyone in roughly the same amount, so like you can just simply do an even split. Or the fixed percentages, if you're quite sure that the percentages are not going to change over time, that would be the easiest way to go. Proportional split makes sense if with the proportion of the cloud spend, for example, the consumption of the shared environment actually scales. So a proportional split would be also a quite easy solution, and the most fair way, but it comes with some effort, is the consumption-based, which means you need to introduce another metric. So that was also about taking the ownership of the cloud spend so that they understand what portion do they use, what direct costs do they have, which shared costs do they have, and what they can do to really minimize the cost. But as I said, it's not just about minimizing cost. FinOps is about increasing the business value of the public cloud. And if you have external customers or even internal customers, you can think about how to best support your business with the public cloud. And you can do that by creating new cloud services and make some more money with these new cloud services, because we want to make actually money with the public cloud in FinOps. It's not just about saving. And now we focus a bit on how we could make money. So if I have external customers, of course, I can do something like reselling cloud services. That would be one way. You could have a price book and some uplifts to make money with it. Or you can build your own services, so you can use public cloud to create your own services based on that. And think of an interesting pricing schema and resell these services, your own created services that are based on AWS, for example, to end customers. And you can also, if the customer is using native services, you can think of offering FinOps services yourself. So once you have your FinOps practice and you gain some experience, you can actually help your customers to maximize the business value and the usage of the public cloud by offering them some services. This could be consulting, training, and just help them manage their FinOps practice, like FinOps as a service. And we even have built a solution which is called like a FinOps, like a self-service for FinOps. And the self-service is quite an interesting solution because this will allow your end customers to log on and see exactly what they can optimize, what their cloud budget is, or they can allocate the cost, build these cost-sharing rules as they need. And this is how this works. So we first connect to the AWS cost and usage reports and also the licensing and SaaS. So we bring in all cost data into one system, and then we apply these organizational structure and cost allocations and price books and divide the cost then into different end customer environments so that you can see exactly which end customer is responsible for which cloud spend. So if it's end customer again or internal customers, so then customers or departments can log on and will see exactly what they are responsible for, even with their own pricing, and not just like their AWS spend, but everything they're responsible for their entire cloud environment, because it could be like there are some licenses required to make this all work, or other cost that is related to it. So you can actually bring on all the cost and get a total cost of ownership. And this will allow you then, the end customer, to optimize themselves. Of course, you can still offer them some guidance with FinOps best practices and framework and FinOps services. That would be perfectly fine. So as a summary, to maximize the business value of the public cloud, you can look into what can you first avoid, like cost avoidance, cost optimization, reduce waste. So like things that are running during the night or in the weekend and nobody is using it, turn it off. Storage, like if you have something that is in the cloud storage and it's not needed, shut it down. So you can use that dynamic spending model of the public cloud to really use it clever and wisely and run at a minimal cost. Then it's actually very beneficial and even cheaper than local data centers. So you try to avoid waste, but first people need to know, is this important? Do we still need that? And this works best if you drive that with responsibilities and get the ownership, make that sure that people take the ownership for their cloud spend. So once they see what they're responsible for, they will take the ownership and then we decide, okay, maybe we can save some money by just turning that off. But you can also do this more dynamically based on the current performance and load requirements. So this would be a more sophisticated solution. We have built solutions that help you to automatically monitor the current performance and scale things up and scale things down automatically. And also to help you with the cost allocation, as I've shown with the shared cost allocation and splitting up the cost into different environments and end customers so that everyone can see what cloud spend they are responsible for. So then you can design your new cloud services and think about shared service offering and make additional money with extra services you're gonna sell. If it is training, if it's consulting, if it's new services you create built on the AWS services, for example, and sell it with your own pricing. So we are at the booth 15. If you have any questions, want to see this in action, come to booth 15. It's in the green area, in the sustainability area. You'll find IBM Aptio Cloudability there.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.